That was the cold open. Hey, you got Dad's Bet Baseball, Adam Rosenberg with Slippin' Jimmy himself, CJ Buskey. We got a loaded show, but want to first start with something we were talking with producer Spencer about. Alexander Ovechkin broke what everybody thought was going to be the unbreakable Wayne Gretzky goals thing. Like, actually, like when I realized that it was happening, like last year, I was like, oh wow, this. I never thought that someone would approach 900 goals in 895 and get that. So CJ, I'm going to throw it to you. What is a baseball record that you think is going to be broken that has stood the test of time?
I would say, by the way, if you haven't seen the Ovechkin goal, go watch the highlight. It's pretty sick because literally the entire Islanders crowd, because he's playing in a road game, like just erupts like at the goal. It's cool.
He stopped doing empty netters because he's like, I don't want this to be an empty netter.
It was awesome. It was awesome. I think. See, we were kind of talking about this before the show. Like, I think it's almost more fun to be like, what is the most unbreakable record? Like, which of those records will happen? But I do think, and don't call me a like person or caught in the moment here, I think Bonds' single season home run record is breakable. I think that there's a chance that look, Judge is technically on pace to get that this year. Do I think he'll do it? Probably. I mean, most likely not. But he was also on pace to get like close to this last year. And then he
talking about single, by the way, you're talking about single season?
Single season. Okay. No. Okay. Overall, I don't know if that will be touched. If you want to count that as a record for the Barry Bonds
I agree
haters out there. But I do think that the single season record is touchable. I think that if you look at some of the guys in terms of like just being able to focus on increasing your max EV, the advancements we'll have in terms of just batter adjustments, swing adjustments, etc. And then there are guys like, again, we have an Aaron Judge right now who is on pace to literally do this potentially this year. So that would be the one I feel like is reachable. But what are you thinking, Adam?
No, I think that's the one too. And my simple reason for it, in addition to what you named, pitching is worse. Pitching in my overall in a big pool of everything has gotten worse over years. And the proof point I have for that is quality starts. Like, no, people do 6-mans now. There are like you are very far pressed to find someone who does a quality start. I get it. This is not me doing a Will Clark thing and saying that people are soft or saying, hey, you don't pitch 6 and only give up 2 anymore. I get it. Like, people preserve their arms and stuff now, but in the era where everybody is pushing out their arms, pitching is worse. Pitching is there are great players, but pitching is worse. So I absolutely think this can happen. Plus, ballparks are now designed to encourage all this stuff to happen. So that's why I always like using the metric of like, is this gone in all those parks? It's also why I kind of like watching the Tigers do really well in a ballpark that is so terrible. I was terrified of betting them for like batting props all last year, and like this team effing mashes in their ballpark, and lefties do it too in that alley. So I agree with you. I think that one will be too much is needed to break the overall like of a health thing.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing with some of like the overall, because I was looking up some of like the career records, and like especially pitching career records. I think most of those are untouchable unless there is a massive change in how starting pitchers are managed in the next 10 to 20 years. But the hitting records, average, that one, it's likely you're probably never going to see a 400 hitter. I mean, it's just the general trend of batting average has gone down, but
batting style.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, if someone does it, I'll tell you, if someone does it, I think it's going to be a Japanese player. You would have to be a slap contact hitter to be able to do it.
Or, I mean, somebody in the same in the mold of like Ichiro, from back then.
Yeah. Right. Like, nobody hits like that. Like, nobody. Luis Ariz is the only guy who hits like that. Like, but yeah, I agree. Completely agree. Spencer the producer Spencer pointing out that like Ovi also has the all-time record for empty netters. which is awesome. He's the all-time record for icing on the cake in every game. All right, let's get to some more of the baseball stuff. Shout out Lee in the chat saying that he hopes Pavin Smith never finds his pot of gold, and Trevor saying the Brewers are back. I don't know. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but CJ, we'll talking first on the weekend. Give me a betting up or a betting down or both that you're excited about from the last couple days since we last saw people.
Yeah, you know who's not breaking Barry Bonds' single season record? Pavin Smith. That is someone who's definitely not going to be in that category. I think for me, probably a good win. This was a classic for me, like a moving the chains weekend. It's like nothing really sexy, a few kind of nice wins here and there, a few like bad beats. I had a Michael Conforto dinger yesterday up against
one of my
Nola.
favorite players.
Terrible history
Easily
against him.
Favorite former Met. Easily my favorite former Met.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't really complain, obviously, with the roster the Mets have assembled, but he was always a guy I liked as well on the Mets. But and also as a guy that has played well in the Phillies ballpark. And yeah, he's been mashing the ball. Had a good price for him on a home run yesterday. Nola is terrible at Citizens early in the season and against lefties. So that was a nice one that came through. Probably the only, I guess, would say like the one that I was pissed about was the Bailey Ober over Ks. So I had him over 5.5 Ks yesterday, 84 pitches in 4 innings and 5 Ks. And I honestly wasn't really following this game, but I pull up my picket and I see top of the 5th. I'm like, all right, here comes K number 6. Nope, he's been pulled already. Very inefficient 4 innings for Ober. And it's a guy that's like, he's just got one of those super high ceilings or very low floors. And I thought yesterday that was kind of a classic where, man, like if he just can be efficient, he'd be so much better. But kind of, let me down there at the end. But those for me are probably the main two that kind of stuck out in my head this weekend.
That game was really interesting because they won that game by 5 runs and they still blew like a lot of guys in their bullpen. I was just like,
it was a weird
I have
game.
no idea. There were certain dudes, like, I don't know, like, I think, didn't Duran get in that game? And it was kind of like, why are you pitching him up 6 runs, like, or 5 runs? I don't know, whatever. It was weird. For me, like, I had a monster Friday. And so like Luzardo win, which I think we kind of like talked through live on the show.
Congrats on the Luzardo 50K per 9, by the way, because I was giving you some shit about that earlier this past week. And then of course he comes out and he's amazing again. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk
50K
a little
per 9. That's a new.
We'll
new
talk
record.
a little more about him. I was really annoyed with so you and I take different approaches to stuff. I'm a little bit more reckless. I don't want to say reckless. I would say I'm a little bit more chaotic good. You're a little bit more, for our Dungeons and Dragons fans, you are a little bit more what's the reserved evil? And thoughtful. So I have like a lot
some references here that I'm not going to be familiar with on the D&D side.
All right. Well, anyway, I've been doing a lot of stuff to figure out like some niches and things like that. Like last year, I like really got home runs, and this year I'm like, well, I'm going to get sides, I'm going to get totals, and like I was a little actually ended up with all my BS. I still only ended up down 2 units today, but I had what I thought was a great angle, and I went a little bit too cute. I lost on all my cute stuff, which was a lot of it centered around first plate appearance Ks, which were like low risk, high reward things. So I essentially lost because I did too many parlays. But my thing that I want to take this into is that I am a little concerned about Mr. Corbin Burns now, because I wasn't impressed in that Yankees start. And this should have been a shove match. Washington has the lowest K rate,
easily,
highest K rate in the league. It was like 70 degrees there too. It was like a gorgeous day in DC. Like there was no reason for him to come out, and he got, with the exception of Josh Bell, like everybody basically ate him up. So I want to ask you, did Corbin Burns peak 2 years ago? Like he had velo dips at the end of last year, not like Reagan's did, but like what's the deal? What's the deal with Corbin Burns?
Yeah, I mean, I think two things that are interesting to me about Burns, at least early season. So I do think it's like kind of telling that the market on him was not as hot as I think people anticipated coming into free agency. Right now,
Free agency market.
Right.
Yeah.
So Snell signs early, and we thought, okay, the person who's going to be the most pissed about this signing is Corbin Burns because he just basically nuked the market for him.
Yeah.
But then he didn't end up signing for what until I think it was like end of December, early January. It was like all past the winter meetings.
I think it was like early February. It was like right before spring training. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that raised a little bit of a flag for me just in the offseason because it's like, okay, like this is arguably the one of the top right-handed starters that you're going to have on the market, and there's just not a lot of good
Young. What a Cy Young 2 years ago. He's the AL Cy Young favorite last season in the preseason.
Exactly. And he started the All-Star game for the AL. So I thought that was interesting. They moved his first start back, which was also weird to me. And so there was a little bit of scuttlebutt there that I kind of had in the back of my head, had my eye on it's Corbin Burns. I kind of just like trusted the name, but that Washington spot today was absolutely a smash spot for him. And I think I texted you like maybe in like the second or third inning. I was like, what the hell is going on with this guy early in this game? So I'd be interested to see. I mean, if we're thinking of like, if you're taking this away, like what's that actionable market that you could be then? Are we trying to fade like on a earn runs type of line for him because he's typically more around like that 1.5 type of market you're going to see for that?
He was missing he walked a lot of dudes.
I was going to say, what's his over under walks today? Like
he over
1.5, 2.5.
He opened the game with a walk. It was kind of it was just like he's a power pitcher and he didn't. And in terms of like the market that I would look at from this, it doesn't make me cool on the Diamondbacks, but I get why the Diamondbacks continue to be a 50-50 coin flip odds on if they're going to win the division or make the playoffs or not. Like there's still the minus 150. Like there's still people are kind of like, I don't know. Like we've seen the ceiling and we do that, but it's a little bit. Look, I'm a big Brandon Pfaadt fan, and and we talked about this actually last Friday. Like he should have kind of shoved in that game, and he didn't. They won, but he didn't, and I don't know. And I really want to. This D-backs team also is one of those teams that they're very streaky, and when they like a couple years ago, like this is the same core group of players, the exception of Gino Suarez, same core group of players that went to the World Series. And like they peaked at the right time. And like last summer, they like got really hot. And so and then they cooled off at the worst time. So I think that there's going to be, I think this might just be like, they might just be the team that you and I were just like really hot on early that we like might have to wait a little bit and then they'll come into their own because especially we already got our Marte injury and like, they're saying 15 days, but it's a hammy. So that changes everything about him because when he comes back, you can't put him at the top in the leadoff because you can't have a guy with a hamstring issue leading off because what happens is if he pulls it again, it slows everybody down behind him. So I like it better with Corbin Carroll leading off to be fair on all this. I like him in the 2-hole a lot more. I like Cattell a lot more in the 2-hole, but it'll be interesting because I gotta cool my jets on this D-backs team. Because their starters, the starters don't look there yet. Guy I've been impressed with the most on that team, and then we'll move topics. Ryan Nelson, who we used to fade, but like his underlying metrics are always great. I love Ryan Nelson.
Real quick on Burns, by the way, just because I was curious as you were talking there, like what was the lines coming into today? So I said 1.5 for walks, and that was indeed the line, although it closed with some juice to the over there. 1.5 on earn runs, that also closed with juice over, and then 4.5 for hits. So right now, just out of his couple of starts that he's had at the beginning of the year, I mean, he's got a 1.93 whip with 7 walks. I think it's like his walk per 9 is up in like the 7 or 8 range. It has an update on Fangraphs for that metric. But anyways, my case in point there is, next Corbin Burns start, which I don't know when that is. I have to look at the probables grid, but you might be looking at maybe some runs from the opposing team that he's facing in terms of just like think of guys who are going to have a good chance to either draw walks, get on base. To me, like that might be some interesting kind of player prop markets that you could kind of attack that. If you're going to get maybe a plus price on the like over walks or, over earned runs for Burns, great. But again, seeing some of that juice earlier today and against the Nationals, that tells me that maybe there was actually a little bit of an inkling, at least from the market side, that this wasn't going to go as well for Burns as we would think like on the surface.
So we'll move to the next thing after this, but it's important to note Burns has extra rest before his next start because they're off on Thursday. His next start's going to be Saturday, home against Milwaukee. Trevor calling out about the Brewers. So it'll be another one of those situations, it's his old team. So we'll see what happens there. Brewers are not a team that we've been impressed with. Right now, I also want to pause and just remind everybody you are watching Dad's Bet Baseball. We are happy that you are here. If you are watching us, whatever you're watching us on, that handle at Dad's Bet Baseball is the same on every single channel. And we do this show on Sunday nights where we talk about some things that we're going to look at the next few days. And then we do a Thursday, Friday show where we do a guest and we do some other things and we do some bet stuff. So thanks everybody for tuning in, subscribe. We also have an audio version. So that said, let's kind of move on a little bit here. Did you have, so that was kind of, so real quick, I know we took up a lot of time with the Burn stuff, but give me one quick player that you're watching this week in terms of, and maybe a market that's kind of attached to them. Obviously we just talked about with Burns. Now we're going to probably look at his ER and his walks is probably something, but did you have something that you were going to be looking at now going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the only guy I think is kind of interesting to me, at least in the next few days, would be Tyler O'Neill is going to hit a home run like very, very soon. It will happen when I guarantee you the next 48 to 72 hours. I think he had a triple and a double today. 3 barrels, if I'm not mistaken, when I was looking at his
that's all
game
he does is barrel. All he does is barrel.
Well, he either barrels or he just completely whiffs, but there is one coming, so I would be curious to see what his home run prices are going to be over the next few days, because it's like kind of just waiting to happen with him. And then I guess pitcher wise, like I feel like we get a mention of this guy almost every show, but just whatever Sonny Gray's K prop is against the Pirates on Tuesday, just bet the over, because the biggest weakness that we all know about Sonny Gray is that he gives up a lot of hard contact and home runs whenever he does give up hits. And the Pirates, that is not something that team is anywhere good at doing. So those are kind of just the two right off the top of my head. Those are ones I'm sort of thinking about later this week. I know with O'Neill, did you have him for a home run today? You were looking at him.
Yeah, it was against the lefty.
Guys.
It was against the lefty. Yeah.
I
mean, I was kind of like, that's all I looked at for the cap. I was like, I need to know sweat. I need to know, why not? And just I'll do that. So for me, this is tied to, I realize as I look at our rundown that we actually kind of have this twice. So it's whatever, but player that I'm watching, we had talked about it just before. I'm going to be watching Jesus Luzardo again. We're not getting 5.5 anymore. We're going to get a 6.5. We might even get a 7.5 plus money. He gets the Braves, who have been a turnstile as his next start. So I'm going to be looking at his K prop there. But in terms of teams, we asked everybody, hey, what are, we actually put out 3 teams that have underperformed so far, about 10 games in, and which of these teams would make the playoffs, in your opinion, or is going to make a playoff run. Teams we gave out as options are the Reds, the Braves, and the Astros. And I will check the latest in terms of what the people are saying. People are saying which slow start team will make a playoff run. 57% said the Braves, 35% said the Reds, 7% said the Astros. What do you think about that? What do you think about that ranking? Which team? Which of those three teams? I think the
rest of the baseball world just hates the Astros. So I think no matter what, if you put any poll out for the Astros could they do something good? I think people will just not vote for them because
That's
it's still the Astros, even though it's like the only guy that's on there really is Altuve from those teams.
So then of the Reds and the Braves, who are you least worried about when it comes to a playoff run?
I'm still not panicking about the Braves because while I do think that the division, it's so early, man, but I think I'm not willing to say that they're like totally out of the division. I think they could get buried. I think that them up against the Mets and the Phillies very soon, like that could end up really, putting them in the barrel for not getting the NL East. But I've always thought that there's a good chance that there could be 3 NL East teams that make the playoffs. I think that the teams, if I'm the Braves, that I'm actually concerned about right now are the Giants and the Padres in the NL West, because the Giants did they win today? They were 7-1. I know that. I didn't check to see if they won earlier today. Okay. Yeah, so they're 8-1 now. So I mean, that's a team that we don't necessarily expect to be like great this season. They thought they would be kind of like more in the mid range. I'd be paying attention more there because I think there's going to be one team out of the Central. I think there could be some cannibalizing there at the top of the NL East. Mets haven't been really hitting the ball either, by the way. That's like a sneaky thing about like they're 6-3, but I mean, it hasn't really come together for the lineup except Alonso. So Braves,
which is great for us.
I'm still
which is excellent for us. So
yes,
excellent for our RBI bet.
Exactly. So. Yeah. So that I think the Braves, but we've talked about this team a lot so far. Like, I mean, is it the Braves still for you? Like, or do you think that there might be a little bit? The Cincinnati stuff will come together with a little bit of an easier schedule, especially later this month.
I'm worried about the Reds because they're not scoring, and I'm worried about young players and lineup changes. They're also really hurt. Like Steer's not 100%, and Stevenson's not even in the lineup, and McLean missed the game today. The team, though, I'm least worried about. Shout out to Beans. He shows up for a lot of the SGPN shows. There's Scott and myself. I'm least worried about the Braves. I'm least worried about the Braves. I think the Braves are going to get a jolt with Strider coming back, just like in the clubhouse. That's just going to make the better. Sean Murphy came off of the IL. Like I like Drake Baldwin. Don't get me wrong. He's actually his BABIP's crazy. Like I actually think he's pretty good. But Sean Murphy's off the IL this week, which is just, you're going to get your team back with the exception of Acuna. I don't count Profar because Profar Brady Anderson, like he can do whatever he wants to do. But I think that this is a big deal. And also, look, if you want to talk about whatever, like Profar is going to come back midseason. This team's also probably going to buy. Least worried about them. All right, let's go to a new segment that is your brainchild that I like. We're going to call it Fade or Chase, where we're going to talk about just some sort of aspect that is something to put as part of your cap, and whether or not you are fading it and you think that this is BS, or you're going to chase it and you think that it's great and you're going to go after that. So this topic is wind, and I'm going to say, I will say this: how I think wind is only. I'll just say it right now, based on data and things that I have read and how I believe in what I watch. Wind is really the only time I care about wind is if it's a game in Chicago. That is so there will be, we got 19 miles per hour to the left and we got this to the right. It's fine. Chicago, like the Wrigley is built like a little sandbox. Wind activates differently there. When you look to the ballparks that are most impacted by weather, this like it's just overwhelming. It goes, it's here it is, like this Wrigley Field get affected by wind more. From 2023, 2024, balls batted that moved 25 feet or more from wind. You got the Cubs and a little bit of Fenway, and then nobody, and then there's no impact anywhere else. And then when you go to parks that had the most home runs created or prevented by wind, the most prevented by wind overall is actually Kansas City, which we've talked about, just how their things work. And then the Cubs, same things there. And then and then Seattle, and then everything plummets.
So my only counter to this, because I thought of this, I was actively like talking to some people about this. My brother-in-law, huge Yankees fan, and he's been super high on a Volpe, breakout season, which every Yankees fan has been saying for 3 years now. So which, by the way, he's been great to start.
He's been great. He's been great.
Yeah.
He's no Ben Rice, but he's been great.
But or Trent Grisham for that matter, apparently.
Ben Rice. I'm sorry, but Ben Rice is like my favorite Yankee. He's just so great. He's just.
But yeah, so obviously there's a lot more attention that comes on the opening day games. If you got to watch any of the Yankee opening day game against the Brewers, you could tell that there was a number of home runs in that game and also in the Saturday game that they played against them. Not torpedo bat related, but wind definitely carried somewhat. Like there was a few of those balls that definitely on a lower porch for that ballpark carried and was able to, instead of maybe being a double, that ends up turning out to be a home run. So I guess my thinking with this is that I'm not saying that you should be, hey, where am I starting my cap on this? Oh, let's go and see, is wind blowing out of the park 15, 20 miles an hour? Okay, well then I'm looking for anybody who's going to be, hitting a home run in that game. I do think that it's like there has to be at least some element of that, at least in some specific parks, the ones you mentioned, but also like I do think Yankee Stadium should be at least factored a little bit there. If you're kind of, I guess my point with all this being is like, if you need something to kind of put you over the line and it's wind is blowing out of the stadium, I've always just kind of considered that as like, all right, yeah, like that might be worth getting me over the edge. But I wouldn't necessarily say that like this is something that you need to chase as your main part of your cap, if that makes sense.
So according to the data, the Yankee Stadium is one of the top 5 in wind preventing home runs. It's not in terms of giving you home runs. In terms of giving, it's the Mets and the Cubs. It's home run aided by wind. The most one like overwhelmingly for Chase. I don't know. I've actually.
But is that? I guess my thing with that is like, but if how is wind preventing home runs if it's blowing out directly towards the porch in Yankee Stadium? Is that data based on just wind in general? Like wind generally blows into the stadium, or is it based on
So it's based on which parks had the most home runs created. It's on MLB.com. They did that whole thing in like the most wind affected balls. I mean, it's funny because all the examples are Cubs examples, but which parks had the most home runs created or prevented by wind? So basically what it did is it took the net. It took the net of like how many times was a home run hit when it was like 20 in, and how many times was a home run not hit because it was 20 out. And Yankee Stadium very like overwhelmingly is preventing home runs. Look, I get it. Like there's also a short porch and that's just how it's going to be. A lot of things is also that people forget on all this. These are professional effing athletes. Like I've watched dudes hit balls into 20-mile-per-hour winds and it didn't matter in Wrigley. Like it still gets out of there. I think overall, like if you're going to talk about what's a weather thing that I'm chasing, that I think is a very important thing for everyone to look at, rain and stuff is important, not because the game might get canceled, but because the game might stop. Because if the game stops, you have different pitchers, different things happen. The entire mindset, like this is more than any other sports, the creatures of habit sport. If everything changes in the third inning and suddenly you don't have your starter and it becomes a bullpen game, that's fresh arms constantly going the rest of the game. That I care about a lot. I care a lot more about a game being interrupted by rain than I do about a game that's going to have any wind.
Well, totally. I mean, and that also, I mean, not only does that affect the rhythm of, both the pitching and the batters in that, but like if you're capping a game based on this starter has a super high home run to fly ball rate and home run per 9, and there's going to be rain in the schedule, and then that starter only ends up throwing 2 innings. Well, guess what? Now you've capped for 2 innings worth of that starter versus, 5 or 6. So, I guess maybe to sort of put like a bow on the wind aspect in general, because I do think this, like, I think this comes up a lot more, especially like in the colder, like April month, maybe beginning of May, because it's just more prevalent. it's back the guys based on like who you think is actually going to be able to hit a home run off of that particular pitcher. Don't let win necessarily decide on that.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing to know, but it's if you like you said, these are professional athletes. If I'm looking at Tyler O'Neill tomorrow and wind is blowing in 15 miles an hour, and guess what? Tyler O'Neill,
it's not stopping me. It's not stopping me from taking Tyler O'Neill. Have you seen Tyler O'Neill shirtless, dude? That dude is so yoked. Like that is like he is the Maple Leaf Warrior. All right, let's move it along. A reminder on folks who coming by. Dad's Bet Baseball. Yeah, at Dad's Bet Baseball. You found us, so we're really happy that you're here. All right. Upcoming series that you are looking at this week. We alluded to it a little earlier. One that I think is extremely important. I said last week, that this stretch for the Braves, I think, is critical. The Mets have a fantastic stretch coming up. Thanks, Beans. We're glad to have you too. Beans, shout out to Beans in the chat. Mets have the Fish, then the A's, then Minnesota, and then St. Louis. This is a stretch. I don't know why we didn't look at Mets over win total in
April.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, it was probably too public, but this is a great stretch for them to basically. I mean, you have a 2-7, 1-7 Braves team behind them. This is the Mets could come out of this stretch and have massive distance between them and the Braves. Like they get the beat up on the Fish potentially, and then A's and Minnesota. A's who are a fun story but are not good. Minnesota who does not look very good, and St. Louis who had a football game tonight. As they got 16 runs dumped on them. I think this is a great stretch for the Mets.
Yeah, I'd add on one more to that can we do a Mark Vientos watch? Like, can we see is Mark Vientos actually going to make contact with the ball at some time soon? Because this guy was, I mean, as a Mets fan, I was exuberant about Vientos being our fourth or fifth batter coming into this season, and he has just looked completely lost. And so I'm looking at this as I'm very interested to see what the team is going to do with him if he is still really struggling through this stretch of really just poop in terms of the teams that they're playing.
Is he batting cleanup now too?
Right?
Is he batting cleanup?
He's batting sixth. So no, now they already bumped him down to sixth in the lineup.
He's in his old position.
Yeah. So that's one I'm kind of interested in looking at. I've got one. I got a fun one here, Adam, because I'm going to call out a division that I feel like a lot of programs they don't give enough love to, which is the beloved AL Central. And I'm going to call it a series here that I think is this should be must-watch TV. And I'm going to give you a market to bet as to why, which is Chicago White Sox to win their series against the Cleveland Guardians is 3-1 on DraftKings right now. So let me tell you that the Guardians have not looked good at all in the start of their stretch. We had an under, I believe, wins for them in April, I think, is a
under 14.5
earlier. But right. Come off, they got wiped. The first game where Jose, looked great, they looked very bad in terms of just giving up a lot of runs in the last two games. So coming into this series, starting pitching for Cleveland, you've got Blake Lively, you've got Logan Allen, and you've got Gavin Williams.
It's Ben Lively, but yeah, that's even better.
Lively. Yeah. Blake Lively, he was a co-star and with us, right? Blake Lively.
Yeah. I like
Ben Lively. Ben Lively. All right. So Blake Lively, you've got, like I said, Logan Allen, and you've got Gavin Williams. All those guys have not looked sharp in their first starts this season. Chicago, all right, yes, a team that does not really hit well, but pitchers that they have at least done okay against. What's up?
Sorry, you mentioned Logan Allen there as one of those. I was just looking at the schedule while you're doing it.
I'm looking at the probables.
I think he's going to get sent down and lose his spot to what's his name? I'm talking about the lefty on that team who I like. He was a rookie last year.
Oh God.
Yeah, Cotillo.
Yes, Cotillo. Probably.
Yeah. I think he's going to lose his
spot. So White Sox against lefties this year, 36 WRC plus. Against righties, 88 WRC plus. Again, 88 not very good, but like this team at least is like not dead last against righties, and I there's just some bad vibes, man, about this Guardians team coming out of the gate. I think 3-1 against a 3-6 Guardians team on the road, or is it? Yeah, I think it's on the road, right? No, yep. I'm sorry, they are at home. They're at home for this. Home. Yep. 3-6 team, West Coast coming back at home. 3-1 to me to lose this series to the White Sox is a little bananas. I don't think there's that much difference right now between these teams.
No, they do have an off day. Keep that in mind. In between all the things, I agree. Look, I agree with you. And also, like, good to call out. I don't play it enough, but the series bet's a good thing, especially early in the season. We should look at this late in the season too. We should set a note to ourselves of look at this late in the season when certain teams have kind of quit or they're critical, but early in the season, there's a ton of value right now because these guys aren't tired and they're playing and they're doing it. So yeah, like I will take this. I'll take this with you. I think it's great. I think that they're gonna have to shake something up over there because I wouldn't even say that Detroit is playing like exceptionally well, but the Guardians are playing. If I had to say who's playing the worst in the division, I would put the Guardians worse than the White Sox in terms of eye test, because I've watched a lot of White Sox games because I've been trying to find value. And here's a, surprise, guys, you can make money on bad teams pretty well. So that but that being said, so okay. Now let's talk about we're gonna talk about a couple pitchers that we're looking at this week. We'll talk about some futures, and then we'll kind of close this out. For those of you guys just joining us, Dad's Bet Baseball, we do some betting market stuff. We don't give out picks, but we will talk about like how you can approach betting some things during the week or players that we're watching, and hopefully this helps inform you when you are betting on stuff. And then we make jokes, and then Thursdays we're 0-1 on doing a live parlay on air, but we do more of those.
I think we got a reverse sweep on that parlay last week, by the way.
Yeah, but I blame my kids. Yeah. I look, if something doesn't go well, I always blame my kids. All right. So give me a pitcher that you want to back and one that you want to fade in terms of things that you're looking this week, or like I have a couple, but you tell me if you have some that you want. You mentioned a couple folks earlier.
Yeah, I was gonna say I might let you run a little bit with this one because I already talked about how I think Sonny Gray, alt Ks, or just anything great to back Sonny on.
I think we know now. Sonny Gray is going to be out there. Sonny Gray is probably going to give you a stat line of 6, 4, 8, and 4 being the earned runs. Like he'll be out there for 6, 4 earned runs, a home run. He's basically got an Aaron Nola vintage stat line. If you think about it.
And one thing I would say real quick with him, and then I'll let you kind of jump in here with. I know you have another pitcher you wanted to kind of talk about, but if you're by the way watching a Sonny Gray pitched game, and I would also, again, we talked a little bit about him last week, but like look at guys that like give up a lot of home runs, but tend to otherwise be pretty clean during the game. Like Scherzer used to be a great example of this. Like he would just give up like 1 or 2 home runs and then be awesome the rest of his start.
Actually, like infamous Yurfie pitcher.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you're watching a start live and Sonny Gray's on the mound and it's like 4th, 5th inning and he's cruising, look for some of those like live team total markets that you can find for the opposing team, because I think that's like great. Again, there's no way that those markets are going to be priced directly based on that type of pitcher. They're going to be based on just some sort of model or like the specific type of game state. But to me, like if you're just kind of, watching games or you want to get a live angle, I think that's a good one to kind of, take a look at.
And DK, by the way, will give you like a ton of these random live MLB boosts, which is hilarious because I'm just like, I don't know when I'm going to use this, but sure. I am looking, so a spot that I'm looking to buy up on, and if you're listening to this, hopefully you listen to it tonight. This is recording this on Sunday so that you can hear it on Monday. And if you're listening to it, give us 5 stars, Uber style. Be like, I don't even care about anything else. You got me from A to B. Just give me the 5 stars. I like backing Logan Gilbert tomorrow, Monday against Houston. I want his K's to the moon. This Houston team, also a turnstile, different made because they make them different in Texas. But Logan Gilbert is also at home. This is in Seattle, where we know it's a pitcher's park and things are going to be a little bit better. All the Seattle pitchers just perform better there. But even if they didn't, assuming that our website, CJ, is correct, I think it's correct because these numbers look right.
It's correct.
A 2.72 Sierra, 31% K rate, a 33% chase rate, an 18% swinging strike rate, doesn't walk anybody, giving up some bombs, but whatever, that'll happen. Give me that. Give me all of that against a as I reset this and looking at the teams that's give me against right-handed pitching, give me a K rate. Houston 27.9% K rate right now.
32.9 on the road. By the way, I mean, very, very early, but that is.
But still, but we thought this lineup was going to be a weak lineup. This lineup looks exactly the way that we thought it was going to. So anyway, that's what I'm looking at. That's going to be something. As soon as that line drops, this might be my first true ladder of the year. Is going to be this Logan Gilbert. I'm assuming it's going to be 7.5.
And by the way, I'm pretty sure I'd have to go double check on his last start, which that was not a sharp game for Logan Gilbert.
Still struck out a bunch of guys
against Detroit. He still struck out 8 guys. So that wasn't even his best stuff, and he's still great.
And then we, ladies and gentlemen, we have the prodigal son himself returning for us to fade. Patrick Corbin Day is Tuesday for the Texas Rangers on the road against the Cubs, who I would just like to remind everyone that the Cubs against lefties this season have a WRC plus of 131. It's not even including today. An OPS,
not including today.
Which they did great. They chased Hart in, I think, 6 outs. They're not striking out. They're walking like crazy. This is a nightmare matchup. And Patrick Corbin is there for one reason only: to eat innings and stick around. They are not going to blow bullpen because Patrick Corbin can't get past the third. He is a veteran. He is literally there so that they can he can eat up 5 innings for them and they can kind of get everybody else's work in. So Tuesday, that's what's going to happen. I'm very excited for that one.
Hey man, I mean, I know stocks are cheap right now, but I think I'd rather take some of my money out. I
was also looking like these guys. There are 5 guys on this team who have OPSs against him over. I don't know. Do you call it 1,000? Is that what it is on OPS? Like
I think it's over 1,000. Yeah.
John Bertie has a great record against it, but Ian Happ 6 for 16. Nico Horner's 5 for 12. Carson Kelly is 4 for. Carson Kelly had a big weekend, by the way. If people watch, Carson Kelly had a great series against the Padres. I've always liked Carson Kelly. When he was on the Rangers, I like Carson Kelly. Like I think Carson Kelly I liked him when he was on the Tigers. Carson Kelly is a day baseball betting legend because he would just hit home runs on like Wednesdays, and I loved it. Our guy Suzuki 4 for 10. Dansby's seen him for like a 41 at bats.
I mean, honestly, Justin Turner has been.
Justin Turner's crushed this dude.
For them.
So and Justin Turner has one job, and it's to show up for 2 at bats to hit lefties. So Tuesday, if you're listening to this on Monday, then the next day, I know I can't believe I have to explain that, but you're gonna want Patrick Corbin probably over his earned runs. Honestly, might be a good play. You'll find some value in something because like they're not going to pull him after 3. They're going to let him pitch like 70 or 80 pitches. Like he's going to get, I think that over earned runs is probably, I'm assuming it's going to be 2.5. I think that's going to be a very safe bet there, but those are some guys to look at. Did you have any, you already mentioned the guys that you want to go right. Let's go into our futures market. What do you got that,
let's do it.
Attempt check on a couple futures.
Yeah. I want to try and kind of review some of these week to week. We used to do this a lot, just kind of last year, texting back and like, which kind of market do we think has a good price for the favorite and which doesn't? So I'm going to give you, so this week, what I wanted to talk real quickly about, because I don't think there's enough starts for Cy to really like even get kind of like a good number that I would like be like, yeah, that's like that makes a ton of sense. And rookie of the year, I think, is still completely all over the place. So the one that I wanted to quickly touch on was AL MVP.
Okay.
And if I'm looking here again, I'm just pulling the line from DraftKings, right? So this could be varied, but I think you're going to generally see a similar price across most books. But you've got Judge there at minus 140. He's your favorite, right? So I think we can both agree that Aaron Judge should be the favorite for this award, right? We could at least probably start there.
Yes,
should Aaron Judge be the favorite for this?
He's the only guy between us and a lot of our futures. So yes.
Yes. So minus 140. Obviously, I'm not taking that price, but I am kind of looking down and just seeing that, you know, we've got like some interesting guys here at like Wyatt Langford, 50-1. You've got Jordan Westberg, 50-1. I
was just looking at that.
You know, yeah. So I would say I think we both agree that minus 140, the favorite should be the favorite for this market. Not necessarily a market I think we need to attack right now, but those were two guys that I kind of eyeballed. I don't know if there's anybody else on that list that you thought were interesting.
No, I hate the O's, but I hate on Jordan Westberg a lot. First of all, this O's lineup's going to suffer because of if Gunnar is actually as hurt as he is, and apparently if Gunnar can't play the field, then that's going to change a lot of things with this team. So I'm very hesitant to buy Jordan Westberg, but Jordan Westberg is looking like Gunnar from last year in terms of just his hard hit rates and his barrels and just what he's doing. I can't take anybody on that team because of how Brandon Hyde manages it. But again, what I have noticed, what is really interesting to notice is that Bobby Witt price is still locked of where it did. He didn't end up hitting for the cycle today, right? It was on cycle watch.
No, I don't think he did. Cycle, okay. No. Yeah.
So
he just hit his first home run this weekend.
Yeah. The thing is that price is locked. And by that, I mean, it has been 5-1 since last November, which means that from just a signal standpoint, if that moves and gets longer, they obviously have a lot of liability on him everywhere because he's like a very popular player. He was an MVP runner up last year. If that line moves, there's a lot of movement within this market. If that line moves to like 10-1 or further, it's actually more of a poison pill to me than it is anything else, because I don't see a world where people are wanting to take more Bobby Witt liability at a number double of what it is now. So the fact that it's still 5-1 is, what I expected. But yeah, this is a market that we're going to just like kind of monitor. I think it's right, but the Riley Green, I would look at a little bit. He's interesting. He's going to go through his first lull, I'm sure. And they have the series right now against the Yankees in the next couple of days. They had to move all the times between the Tigers and the Yankees because it's supposed to be so cold. So you might get some good value if everybody hits pretty poorly in this series. If you can get him at like 75-1, Riley Green's just kind of mashing the ball on that team. And it kind of goes with the ceiling of that Tigers team. So that's something that I'm looking at in terms of AL MVP. So,
yeah, the only other one I would say that I just kind of thought was interesting, by the way, would just be Breggy at 80-1. Only because he's been, I mean, again, we liked him, I think, for doubles leader. He's been hitting the ball extremely well to start the year. Had a double, I think, Thursday, a double on Saturday, too. So, again, not saying that's something I want to take right now.
Stop the count. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think 80-1 is a little bit interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right. We are now coming to a close on Dad's Bet Baseball for this episode. We will bring in producer Spencer. So we're going to do the same. What we like to do, we took this move from Joe Dallaire. It was previously called Recommendations. Now it is called the Dad Move of the Week. And basically, it can be just something that you did that you're just like, oh man, this is such a pro dad move. And I'll reference, and Spencer's not a dad that he knows of.
I know. I'm a dog dad. Does that count?
It does. It counts. Okay. It totally counts. But his last week was about big trash bags and getting rid of a big dead bird, which is such a dad move. So I will I will. So since CJ, you go first, and then Spencer, and then I will. But and this could be like a tip, or this could be just something you did that you just kind of had to take a moment. You're like, that was such a dad move that I did. CJ, what was your dad move of the week?
I mean, I think this is a general dad move, which always works out in my favor. Volunteer to drive. Like, always volunteer to drive.
Ooh.
If you have kids in the car, volunteer to drive, because I've got 2 kids under 2, and let me tell you, like, as soon as they don't get the right song that's being played, they don't have the right toy in their hand, they want a snack, you don't have to deal with any of that. You just focus on the road. You can kind of have your own headspace. You can kind of put that all behind you. And then for me, living close in the city, I get the benefit. I can drop the kids off. Then I got to go park a car. That's another 15, 20 minutes, that I get to myself to be able to walk back. So volunteering to drive for me is that is a pro dad move, and you will never get shit for asking or volunteering to drive.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, it's a good move. It's making me realize a lot of things I've done wrong. Well,
yeah, you might be snitching on yourself, so your wife might take over, the reins at driving too. So if she listens, so who knows? But anyway, my dad move of the week was I had some company over, and my dog, he was just being really needy, so I just made this blend of like plain yogurt and peanut butter, just threw it in a bowl, and he's just off doing his own thing for like 30 minutes. It's amazing.
Yeah, see, that's like, we used to do that with a Kong with our dog, and then our dog got too smart and was now.
Oh yeah, mine too. Yeah.
Now our dog realizes, like, oh, you guys are having steak, I'm gonna eat this, and I'm gonna do this. So no, those are both good ones. My dad move of the week it's actually from like, I'm not thinking it's from 2 weeks ago, but this is a move that I love to tell everybody. If you go on travel, or you don't even have to go on travel, if you leave the house for a night to go hang out with your buddies, order in food for any sort of thing where your significant other or somebody, or it could be a roommate, has to take care of something for you. Order in food for them. I do this for my wife whenever I travel to Vegas or whatever I travel on work stuff. I order sushi and I order stuff to the house, because once she's done dealing with stuff for the kids, it's one less thing that she has to worry about, or even it's stuff that's food for them as well. But it's a super pro move, in my opinion, to order food home for your significant other.
I could not agree with this one more, because I do this all the time when I'm traveling for work, and it immediately, especially if you're traveling for work and they're kind of pissed off that they have to deal with all the kids, and like you are on this like, paradise getaway that is called business travel. Sending food back, there is nothing more that can earn you back some of those brownie points, for even though that might be your job.
Yeah, it's easy.
But you're good at your job, though. You want to be good at your job.
Yeah. So you want to get a promotion to like head.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll be back on Thursday. Thanks Spencer for jumping in. We'll be back on Thursday. Again at Dad's Bet Baseball on all the channels. You can find us on Spotify and on Apple Music and on Podbean. I don't remember what it's called. Podbean. Flick your Podbean. All right. Anyway, so that is. But Thursday we're gonna have Nick Shalane from. We're gonna have Nick Shalane from who's also a dad, but we're gonna have him. He's with Roto World. He does a lot of MLB. He's a Tigers guy. He's gonna be our guest. If we're pretty sure we're doing the show on Thursday. If not, it'll be Friday. But one of those 2 days, Nick will be here. That is our first dad guest. Trevor was a guest, but I don't think Trevor's a dad. He doesn't think he's a dad. So anyway, with that, for CJ and for Spencer, I'm Adam Rosenberg. Thank you guys for all coming by. Good luck with bets over the next couple of days, and we will see you later this week.
See you later.